Greetings and welcome back. And while we're all huddled in and all that, outside there's kids playing, the neighborhood's existing, and people are out and walking a little bit. So it's not all hunker down and stay in the house as of yet. And I don't know how far into that we get at what point. I do think that, kids playing out in the neighborhood, and like a couple houses down there playing basketball. At the other end, they're playing around a bit too. So it's not really a situation where life has come to a halt. But coming out of this, so coming out the other side, what's going to change? A lot. I think we're going to see a lot change, and I think I wanted to discuss in this video what I think. Yeah, this is Mountain Dew voltage. I don't have any kind of deal with Mountain Dew or anything, so there is no such thing as product placement on my channels, either of them, because I don't have any sponsorship deals for soda or for pop, depending on which part of the world you're in. You may call it one or the other, or both, soda pop. But I wanted to look at 7 aspects where life is, I think, essentially changed. And I wanted to go from where I think it's going to change the most, which is going to be number 1 and number 7. And you guys feel free to add whatever to this list after I'm done this that you want. And this is one time where people want to skip to the end and just see what I put in the top 7. Go for it. Although you might miss my explanation. So number 7, I'm going to put shopping. So Macy's announced today that they're closing down stores. There isn't a Macy's anywhere near me, but they're closing down. Hot Topics closing down. That's near me, but they have online shopping. Most stores have online shopping. The online shopping I haven't heard is going away. And to be honest, I always do most of my shopping online anyways. When we went to the Canucks game last week, I picked up a few posters that I'm going to put up over here. But the only reason that I picked them up at the game instead of ordering them online was because of shipping costs. I'm like, well, I'm going to be at a game anyways. I might as well just go and buy them rather than paying the $15 for shipping. But I do think that the whole idea of going out shopping at the mall, now malls are dying off in the States compared to what they were in the 80s anyways, but I do think that's going to now be a trend where, you know what, I'd just rather do that from home is going to be a theme going forward. I'm trying really hard not to touch my face, which makes your whole face itchy when you do that. You're like, don't touch your face. Oh, there's an itch. Oh, there's an itch. And then you can't taking your mind off of it. Number 6. Now I'm an optimist. Let's do number 6 as an optimistic thing, because I like to think we're already doing this. So like shopping isn't, I don't think, going to change a whole lot because a lot of us are shopping online. Hand washing. We already wash our hands, right? You know that uncomfortable feeling when you're out in a public place and you see somebody go through the washroom and they don't wash their hands on the way out, and you're like, you didn't wash his hands. I used to see that at work too. There was one case, for instance, where I saw somebody who repeatedly never washed his hands, so he would struggle at work to get his radio hooked up to his belt. He asked me if I did help, and I said no, because I knew he never washed his hands. So I'm like, I said to people, I said, I'm never touching anything he's touched. That's not happening. So that's important to note, and I really hope that that's the exception, that we're not just, oh, there's somebody watching, I better wash my hands. It's important. So I'm hoping that that's not going to be something that changes a whole lot. That I don't hear people saying, the Grandpa Simpson line of hand washing is your policy, not mine. I don't want to hear that, especially in a restaurant. I really don't want to hear that in a restaurant, which we'll get to, and the restaurants are part of another number on this one. Number 5, and I hope this one too. I hope we already see this properly. Healthcare. It's always a debate. It's a debate everywhere. It's a debate here in Canada too. When something like this happens, people should be able to get tested and get treated, and they should never worry about going broke. That's it. I don't care about any of the rest of it right now. For this video, I don't care about any of the rest of it. Just when you have a situation like this, you want to make sure people are taken care of and you know what's going on. So when you have people that are like, I feel sick, but I don't have any health coverage, so I can't get this taken care of. That's a problem, wherever you are. It doesn't matter where you are. And I think that's something that I hope coming out of this, people are like, you know what? In that situation, there should be Like, let's say in the US you have a pandemic provision where it's okay. In this case, where something like this happens, pandemic provision, everybody gets tests, everybody gets treated, and that way we keep things to a minimum. When it comes to all of the issues that we're seeing. So number 4. All right. I kind of had an idea in mind. I was thinking this over the last couple of days. Travel. I know, we were supposed to be in Vegas this week. We didn't go, so the Vegas hat again. And I'm glad we didn't go because we'd be coming home today, and then we'd have to go to Seattle again to pick up the boys after, and it would have been just a nightmare scenario where, yes, we very likely could have and might have been exposed to something. Travel may very well be changed by this. And again, it's a matter of airlines. So I'm talking about just how people feel on an airplane, airplane washrooms, right? So I'm already a person that I make sure that my bladder is as empty as possible before I get on a plane. I make sure I have nothing to drink for 5 hours before I go to a sporting event because I don't like using a washroom, and concerts too. I don't like using a washroom. If I can avoid it, I will. So I will be as dehydrated as possible. And also in the case of sporting events and movies, you come back and I missed something. And I've talked about that before. So I do think that with travel, again, airline bathrooms and just travel in general, hotel, how clean is it? That's going to be really big now. People are going to be checking on Expedia. They're going to be checking all this. You're going to see people with black lights. Like, you're going to see like people being really, really careful, I think, when it comes to travel. And for places like, for instance, I'm gonna give Vegas props here. I have not had a bad experience with a hotel in Vegas. They are a city built on tourism. They are a city built on visitors coming in to spend money. And so they will make you as comfortable as possible, which also includes a clean room. And they do their best to make sure the rooms are clean. These are huge hotels, thousands and thousands of rooms. And in this situation, that's why you got to close them. But yeah, travel, I think, will be impacted. I won't hesitate to go back to the city on my hat because, again, I think they take really good care. I might have second thoughts about, say, for instance, taking a holiday where we go, well, we're going to cut some money by going to this hotel that might not have a great rating, but, we save an extra $50 a night. I might be more likely now to go to a room that I know might be more expensive, but I know the room's going to be clean. So those I'm not going to say dive hotels, but I guess I just did. They might be experiencing some serious financial difficulties coming out of this because people might be like, I want one less stabby than this. I'm not feeling this. I know it's an extra amount of money, but or if you can't afford it, just you'll go, I don't feel like traveling. I think there will be a hit to the travel industry, a big hit to the travel industry overall. International travel, I think, is going to be pretty rough for the next while. There's a report today that they think that unemployment in the U.S. could hit 20%. That's recession/depression territory. That's bad. So all right, I'll check off travel. Number 3. And again, this is in terms of most changed to least changed. Education. I think education's going to change. I think there's going to be more online courses, more homeschooling, more people, taking the time to find a way to learn what they need to learn without going into a building of learning. I have often for years referred to kids as disease bags, and it goes a long way back. It goes a long way back to, about 20, 25 years ago and just even 30 years ago as a camp counselor, where like I would do my best to keep myself clean, and then I'd be around little kids. Next thing I know, I got a cold, I got a fever, I got whatever. I'm like, oh, it's the kids. It's so education, I think, and not just advanced education, but I think there will be some kind of, now you can't, and I know there's parents who have daycare costs and all that, and they can't be home and they need the kids to be in school. And having been a parent for a long time now, you need your sanity, and sometimes the kids going off to school can be great for your sanity, right? If you have them in public school. Now here we homeschool. I see advantages to homeschooling. I think homeschooling numbers are going to go through the roof coming out of this. I also think the amount of courses offered online are going to go up. We may see a shorter school day. We may see kids go in for 3 or 4 hours rather than 6. And then the remaining hours they're not taking at school. Maybe that's all online. Maybe it's you're going to take these courses online and these courses you will have to take in person at school because it's impossible to teach this online to little kids or to kids in middle school. But I do think education is going to change coming out of this. We have talk of, kids are going to be out indefinitely. Well, kids still need that education. So I think we're going to find ways around where you have teachers in contact with students and the learning still takes place, but in a more safe atmosphere. I think safe works. Number 2, and this is one that's needed to change for a while. I've worked for businesses that won't change until they have to. I have. I've worked for businesses that say, well, there's no mandated need for that. I remember arguing that I wanted a defibrillator at work. And I said, we need a defibrillator. I know how to work one. They're easy. We have other attendants that know how to work them. They're easy. We need one. And I basically got told, they're expensive. And we don't have to have one. And it's a 3-minute drive for an ambulance to get to work here. And I'm like, and that's 3 minutes that I could save that person before they get here. That is 3 minutes sooner that I can intervene. Employers don't change until they have to. So coming out of this, we're seeing a lot of employers all of a sudden going, work from home. To which, and there are some disabled people who are saying, hey, I got told I couldn't work at that job because of my physical disability. Now they have a point. Now they can say, hey, I can work from home. So it may help some people who may not otherwise get jobs to get jobs because now the employer can't turn around and say, well, that was just an exception. It may increase some costs for an employer to have somebody work from home. It may make things a little bit easier. One thing about, and I'll come back to shopping, one thing about not having a brick and mortar for your storefront is it does reduce costs. Brick and mortar has been going the way of the dodo for a while, which is why I have it 7th on the list. That could happen when it comes to just jobs in general, where if you can work from home, you'll work from home. So employment's number 2. And number 1, and I can't think of anything else that's going to be number 1. I don't know about large crowds anymore. And this is something that, it will take years, I think, before we'll see a total comfort in society with the idea of very large crowds. They showed footage today from Florida where there's a beach that has all kinds of youngins on their spring breaks. And, they're not changing their plans for anything. And yes, you have festivals and all that. They will come out and you'll have big crowds. But I think society seeing those large crowds, I think that may change that perception of how many people should we stuff into one spot. How much sense does that make? And I think it could be a long time before we feel comfortable with large crowds again. I never felt comfortable in a large crowd to begin with. As much as I talk about Las Vegas and going there, when we went there, we went to shows here and there, but I really generally kept to myself for the most part. And I enjoyed the Tervis store and the Mile Long Mall and that kind of thing. So I don't have any affection for really large crowds. We're supposed to go to a Rammstein concert in September. We'll see whether or not that still happens. Because again, everything's getting pushed back, right? So I'm not really feeling the enthusiasm about being in a really large crowd. I think part of the reason why I like going to hockey games and being closer to the ice is you don't see the whole crowd then, and it doesn't feel quite as crowded. It feels a little more almost intimate, as it were, if you're closer to the ice. So large crowds, I do think are going to be affected by this. And I do wonder, what else? What else is going to change? Society, I think, it has been getting ready for this unintentionally. We created the internet, right? So everything's online, streaming everything online. And with large crowds, that's going to affect, that also includes cinemas, going to the movies. But we've already been not going to the movies like we used to. That's why prices get jacked up, and that's why they release more and more of these blockbuster movies that are like eye-poppingly amazing in 3D, because they want to make sure we keep going, and they know just your regular movies won't work anymore. I know Martin Scorsese came out and talked about all these bubblegum movies and how they're not real movies and blah 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 blah. And I get it, but he's got to understand that today's generation of moviegoers, if you released Heat right now, if you released Godfather right now, it's not going to make that kind of money. It's not going to get that kind of attention because it's not something that's eye popping in 3D. It's not, gunshots every 3 seconds and laser blasts all over the place, and it's not firing through space. You need that now to get the crowds. You need that to get the attention. So I think that the economy's been changing for a while, and I think this is going to force some further change. But I would be interested to know what you think and what's going to change coming out of this, as we could go through months of this, and it is going to really change the landscape of how the economy works. I believe that. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.